Good morning, guys. How are we all doing? So Dan from Trading with Dan here. This is our Bitcoin morning update. So if you guys wouldn't mind smashing that like button, and we shall go straight over to those Bitcoin charts. So Bitcoin on the 4 hour, as you can see, we have basically we broke back above this resistance. Had a bit of a foray into this zone, came back, pretty much back tested the old resistance as new support, and then found our way all the way to the top side resistance around 52k, and then have been rejected and come all the way down to test out the support level again around 46,000. So we are currently sat there at 46,000 on a 4-hour 9. So we're on a 4-hour 9 at support. We'll just extend this along. So we've got every chance of a bounce here. How high does the bounce go? Does the bounce get us back to the middle of the range around, well, anywhere up to about 50,000, and then we get rejected, painting what would be a very clear looking head and shoulders. What I will say is that well, if we do bounce, we do paint that head and shoulders, and we do come back down, it will look like we are going to take out this level, and well, if we come back down towards this level, whilst I am obviously talking about and hoping that we will hold a range over the medium term between like 41k and 58k, I do have a sneaky suspicion that basically if we come back down into this range, we take out this low here, then we could we've got a high likelihood of actually breaking this 40k level, which then brings us down to, well, our next level would be around 38k. But it would start to worry a lot of people though. So we could very easily see, I mean, even potentially moves down into the low 30ks. The main reason that I think that is that this support level here, this looks to me like a pretty obvious front running of this support level, which then implies that a lot of people bought here. A lot of people wanted to buy. They were buying early and they were buying, and they pumped us all the way back up. So if those people that bought that front ran, if we get back down to here, those people have obviously already bought, so there isn't that same support down there for those people that want to buy again, that wanted to buy the first time. And then not only that, we'll have those people then deciding, well, I'm going to ditch my position before it turns into a losing position. And with it being so close to this support level, I mean, we may get a temporary small bounce, but I think we will pretty much plow through this level. Levels often can get either front ran or overshot. I mean, you can see it, we have these horizontals in, but often you can see they get overshot. They come down, they get overshot, and then come back up. I guess this is not technically an overshoot, but it kind of happens. This looks like a front run. So if we do come back down, I think we could not be looking good. So that does basically tell me that this level here is quite important, because if we don't hold here and we end up in this range, then the bias would be towards coming to test the level, getting below these lows, at which point I think there's a high likelihood we break this level. So there is quite a bit at stake, but that all being said, we are at support on a 4-hour 9. So Bitcoin has got every chance to sort its life out here, and start to go back up, at which point we obviously have got the mid level of, we'll just call it 50k. Breaking above 50k and holding means that we won't paint the head and shoulders, and then if we do that, I think we'll get a move up to the top of the range and then beyond, into this zone. So yeah, we are at a critical point here, I think, because well, critical with regards to the downside, because I think if we lose this level, there's quite a high likelihood we'll lose this level. But if we bounce here, like, it's not as critical, because if we bounce here, we can still basically only get up to 50k. But if we bounce here and get above 50k, then yeah, things might start to look pretty bullish again, getting back into this zone, trading around here, and then eventually moving upwards. So yeah, Ethereum, Bitcoin is still trading sideways in a very tight range here. You probably look at this and say it is a bear flag. It quite potentially could be a bear flag, depending on what Bitcoin decides to do. So yeah, that would basically get us down to these lows, pretty much around this low area, which would be pretty devastating for Ethereum. And then obviously taking out those lows, and then well, you can see we've pretty much been in a longer term move up. But if we get down to here and take out this low, it will definitely start to look like we're not going to take out these highs at any point in this bull run. But that again hasn't happened yet. We can still hold this level. I mean, very simply for me, this Satoshi pairing is: do we take out this horizontal at 0.029, or do we take out this horizontal at 0.033? That will pretty much govern the next trending move in this asset, I would believe. The dollar pairing as well, as you can see, is kind of just doing what Bitcoin's doing, hovering around where it is, a bit weaker at the moment, at an important level, same as Bitcoin. Got another important level below, which if it loses, then, well, look out below, basically. But that obviously been said, if we get supported here, get back above this horizontal, we will start to look good again. Bitcoin dominance as a whole, just again, pointless chart. I mean, I think I've explained enough times now. Not really a lot to read into this, just because of all the bifurcation between various altcoin sectors. Stocks not liking life at the moment. We'll just extend this down. As you can see, though, we are obviously at this trend line, so no surprise we're getting a bit of a bounce. We've got this horizontal, but obviously, if we look at this on the larger time scale, it is looking a bit toppy, isn't it? So it is looking a bit toppy. Yeah, so our stocks got more downwards potential. Are we just going to trade sideways? And we're not really going to make a lot of progress in stocks. Nasdaq as well is looking pretty dicey here. Not saying that we won't get a nice bounce from this level, but will that bounce get faded and eventually we'll take out this level? Quite possibly. Stocks not looking. I mean, you guys know what my views on stocks anyway. Rising interest rates, this 10-year rising, and obviously increasing tax burden. It's just not conducive. It's just not good for basically stocks going up. Basically, to put it simply. But yeah, as you can see, the 10-year making progress. At some point, there's going to be an uncontrolled sell-off in the bond market. I mean, so far you can call this a controlled sell-off, but there is going to be an uncontrolled sell-off, and obviously a sell-off in bonds is this yield going up. So that, I mean, kind of when I say sell-off, it's inverse. Obviously, the bond price trades inversely to the bond yield. So the yield going up is the price going down. So a sell-off in bonds, as in bonds going down, bond prices going down means this going up. So at some point we're going to get an uncontrolled sell-off, and we're probably going to see a spike above 2% really, and that's when the Fed is going to go pretty nuclear. That's when the dollar is then going to get smashed. We're either going to have a deflationary bust or a inflationary bust, and I would put my money on an inflationary bust. So yeah, just look out for look out for that. Look out for that. The dollar though is making progress though, as you can see. We were talking about how this does look like it's got more upside. Still not into the 92s yet. Extreme. I mean, this is traded in the 92s. Yes, it has. So yeah, got up to the 92s. This is what we basically have been expecting. Get into these 92s, low 92s, and then a potential rejection here. Obviously, the market has to basically do what it does before the Fed reacts, and obviously the dollar strengthening and the 10-year going up is basically what is going to cause the Fed to react once it gets to a certain level, and we're not at that level yet. Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, basically into this area, into these low 92s, is a nice area for rejection for the Fed to step in. But I think mainly we're looking at the Fed stepping in once we get over 2%, with basically yield curve control. Yeah, there's definite. I mean, the reason I have a bias towards an inflationary bust is that basically The Fed owns about over 20% of the TIPS market, the Treasury inflation protected bonds, and basically what it is doing is manipulating the price signal. So when a price signal becomes a target, that target no longer becomes a signal. I can't remember who said it, but basically what it means is when you're using something as a gauge of the market, so basically the Fed is using the tips to basically broadcast what the level of inflation is, or the market uses the tips to basically broadcast the level of inflation, and the Fed knows this, and now the Fed is now trying to manipulate that signal. So once a signal then becomes a target, so they're targeting that level to make it appear like inflation is lower. Therefore, once that signal becomes a target, it no longer becomes a signal. Therefore, it's not a signal. So what it is not a signal of the real levels of inflation. Inflation is a lot higher, and the Fed is manipulating that. So yeah, so that's why my bias is for an inflationary, which is basically would be dollar weakness, basically all asset prices pretty much going up, maybe stocks not going up as much, but yeah, commodity prices, commodity food, obviously soft food as well, soft commodities, basically just we're looking more at a Weimar Germany style basically price action rather than a 1930s in America deflationary bust. But what that just mean is that whilst they're printing, everything looks great. Things were great in Weimar Germany with their inflation, their inverted commas hyperinflation for a bit until it wasn't. So yeah, we are potentially looking at that. I mean, that is obviously ultimately is the long term. We all know basically currencies go to zero. We all know that's why they are using certain things that are going on with the health of the population of the planet to try and exert more control over people, because they know the system is unwinding. And they know it's not going to unwind in an orderly fashion, and they know these people that have currently got the money and power in the current system are going to people that are to blame and will be to blame for what happens what goes on in the future, and those are the people that basically the population, when they realise, are going to go after. So obviously they need to control the population, and they need to try and usher in a new system or something as best they can where they are still in control and control the people, because that basically they just care about themselves, don't they? And it's like, it's not just general greed. They're actually basically pretty much fighting for their lives. We all know what happened in the French Revolution, and that is basically what the sort of environment that we are heading for. Once people can't afford to eat, then yeah, stuff happens. If you just look at basically like the Arab Spring, and the collapsing of literally multi-generational dynasties, all it just came down to was rising food prices. So once obviously, I mean, we're getting rising food prices. Once you get even more rising food prices, people on the fringes start to struggle. Those people on the fringes, I mean, they basically are gonna wreak havoc. And rightly so. These people need being brought to account. The central banks, the bankers, basically the politicians that are in cahoots with it, the big business owners that are all working together to just get more money and power, basically take control of the system for their own benefit and for the detriment of everybody else, because they're just selfish. And like I've said, their selfishness has gone beyond the need for them to basically just be selfish now. It is literally, this system is all that is providing them safety now. So they are basically in a pretty desperate struggle for their safety. Anyway, that was a massive tangent there for a Bitcoin morning video. So yeah. Anyway. Back to Bitcoin. Let's look at what the stochastics are doing. Are they going to give us a hand to hold this level? I suspect those 12 hours and daily may be looking okay. But we shall have a look. But yeah, I think we need the 4 hour. Obviously, 4 hours come down. Down, obviously, with price action coming down. So in the shorter term, down. But that is getting pretty deep now. So that could turn back up and give us some upward impetus. 10 hour is down now though, and 12 hour is actually down now, but daily is up. Daily is up, 2 days down, 3 days down. Yeah, I mean, this stochastic read is not looking good. Stochastically, the stochastic read does not really instill me with confidence that we are going to hold this level. It is more the 4-hour TD9 for a bounce, not for a necessary reversal, but for a bounce, and the support level. But like I've said, yeah, we could be losing this level. It's important because I think if we lose this level, we've got a good chance of losing this level too. Whilst it isn't squeaky bum time at all yet, because squeaky bum time will be when we're down here, and if we lose this level, things will start to look bad. We are a clear $5,000 above this level, so yeah, we're not in trouble yet, and we could very easily bounce here, and then yeah, we could tighten the price action could tighten, the volatility could go down, and then we look for a break either way, yeah, but as long as we hold here and don't lose this level now, I do think we've got a good chance, a better than average chance of basically remaining within like the 41k to 58k level. But if we do take this out now, and do come down pretty hard, I think that will be a pretty bearish signal for this market. But I will just point out the fact that we did have a very bearish looking formation here, and then it does ultimately break to the upside. So we could obviously put in a bottom around obviously the lower end of the range, keep trading down into it with lower highs, and then still eventually break upwards, because well, that's what we did last time. So yeah, there you go. Remember, market is not going to try and make your money easy for you, just like it didn't here. This was a lot of people obviously thinking this was going to come down, and then obviously we catapult all our way basically from 34,000 to nearly 60,000. So not too far off a 2x. So yeah, there you go. That is it, guys. Remember, this is not financial advice, political, social, or economic advice. But yeah, always do your own research, and I shall speak to you guys later on today.